Hi guys, it's Sunday. I'm gonna have to do this with the AC running because I just tried this a little earlier without AC running and it was just, good old Texas humidity and sweat. Not pretty, not pretty. I hope you're having a blessed Sunday and a great Memorial Day weekend if you're here in the great United States of America. Deuteronomy 28. I've been thinking about this because I've seen certain changes happen over my life, and as I've been reflecting on this, I thought I'll come and share this, see if something might catch on. Yeah, I'm going to read in the King James Version, Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I commanded thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. All right. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Blessed shall thou be when thou come in, and blessed shall thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and they shall flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thy hand to do. He shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, and in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend to many nations, that's verse 12, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if thou hast hearkened unto these commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right or to the left, or to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And that's pretty much the reverse of all these blessings, and worse. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just a few verses in. Verse 16, cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thine kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he hath consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with a sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven which is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of the land powder, and dust from heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. And it goes on. There's another 15 verses of this. It's pretty. Yeah. Oh no, there's more. Yep. There's a lot of bad things that were pronounced in this. That if the children of Israel did not observe to honor the commandments, which God invited them to say, do you want to be my people? Do you accept this, that I be your God? Anyway, I'm going back to the blessings, all right? Because I was looking at my life and reflecting, and one of the things I noticed is from quite some months back, I started to see a pattern where the more I prayed and said these decrees and declarations over my life, which most of the time I'm working with a journal. It's called Heaven Declares by Hakeem Collins, and a lot of these find their way repeatedly over those 90 days. And after the 90 days, I just flip back around to day one and I go through it again. So I'm probably going through this. This is my 3rd year going through this, and I go through this daily devotional every day. But I say all this to say that as I was going through this, I was reflecting on the day's devotions and decrees and declarations, and I thought, I've actually been seeing an increase in activities where I'm the lender. Not just this year, but even starting in the past year, in a situation where I would not have thought it would be possible, let alone obvious, because you think you're going to have to be completely cash flush, rich, with exceedingly great wealth, but God already puts all these blessings in line to start manifesting in your life, right? Well, He's doing that in my life. And then I looked at it, and at one point I had a bit of angst. I thought, am I going to have to chase down that person? Is that money gone? Is that object gone? You know how sometimes you have to really deal with people to try and get something? And this was a few weeks back. I was thinking about this, and I thought, hold on. I've got a few instances where I have lent and I haven't been at peace. And actually that's it. I haven't had peace. And I thought, God, wait a minute. If you're beginning to put me in a position where I can be the lender, yay, and not the borrower, double yay, why do I have angst about it? When I was a borrower, I had a bit of angst because I want to be able to repay back, somebody on time. But as a lender, why would I still have angst that, I might get cheated, I might get defrauded, it might be a whole hunt them down thing? And then I started to realize that there is a character, a personality, a trait that comes with being a lender and one that comes with being a borrower. Now, stick with me. If you, as kids, need to get something out of mom, the angle to use with mom. Hello, survival 101, right? From crying soon after birth, we have this. We know how to work with mom. And with dad, we know how to say it. I remember there was a time where my sister and I realized if we went to my dad and would say, Dad, can I have money for this? Dad, can I have money for this? He'd be like, look out the window. Do you see a tree out there with money growing on it? No. And there was a time as we got older, we'd look at each other and we'd think, if there was a tree with money growing on it outside in the backyard, I would not be standing here listening to this. I would have been way up in that tree with bills in every pocket, shoved down every sleeve, and you get the picture, right? But there's a way that we know from the beginning of our lives. We know how to be beggars. We know how to be borrowers, because we are dependents. We're dependent on our family. We're dependent on our caregivers. We're dependent on whoever we visit. If we visit somebody's home, and they have some water, where's the bathroom? We're dependent on people. Until we learn how to drive, we're dependent on other people. We're dependent on the bus driver, on him driving us safely, on him stopping at our stop, on him getting us there on time. We're dependent on people. It becomes a part of life to get by, right? Nobody has to fully teach us that. I mean, teach us how to work certain people, the angle, or how to manipulate them, whatever you want to say that. But what is the character or the personality of the person who is the lender? We don't always get to see that. We may see how our parents behave towards us when they give us things. But when we look at people in society and in our communities, how do they give? Do they give in a way that is showy, make a scene of it? Do they give in a way that is discreet, that preserves our dignity? Do they give in a way that we feel that God has worked through them? And I think that's really where my heart landed, because I said, God, I want to be able to give, to lend, without having unrest and lack of peace, because I'm worried about this. If you've put me in the position, I need to know, as a lender, how do I pray? How do I pray over what I've just put out? How do I cover that? How do I speak over what I've just lent somebody? I've not really been walked through that. I've not really ever heard that. How do I pray over, do I call it my investments? Do I pray over my investments? Is that how I do it? Do I pray over those people that I've helped, that I've lent, that they be in a position to give back? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. This is just this week. I'm like, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Wow. There's a whole personality, a whole character, a whole life, a whole mindset. We're gutting the house, people. We're taking out the dilapidated walls. We're taking down the dilapidated, my neighbor. We're taking down the dilapidated ceiling boards. We're ripping out the floors. Oh, those carpets gotta go. Carpets are 80s. We're taking out the what do we call that stuff? Oh, the walls. Here we tend to have partitioning, and these walls you can break, punch a hole through. We're taking those out, and we're going to expose the wiring. And we're going to look at the wiring and say, oh, no. That's got to go. That's a fire hazard. Rats and raccoons and whatever has gotten into all that wiring. Something goes wrong, or another little critter moves past that, and next thing you know, it's a fire hazard. We can't have that. Gut the house. Pull out all of it. In fact, what's the plumbing looking like? Gut that too. We're laying new pipes. We're laying new wires. And this is where I feel I'm at with God. I thought we already been cutting the house and relaying new wires on how I think about my destiny, how I function as a person who God is preparing to be the woman who I've asked him to make me be. I said, who did you originally have in mind, God? I want to be that person. And he showed me that, because he showed me the things that I was praying for that were his perfect will for me. The perfect job, the ministry, the husband, the kids, all that, said, yeah, you want the original plan, but you don't look anything like the person who was meant to be part of that. You've changed because of what life has put you through. So I'm going to need to gut all of the wiring, the way you now think, your rationale, your little predilections, your little principles and rules, things you've adopted because of what you've gone through in life. That's not how we designed you to be. You weren't even meant to go through all those experiences that have made you have these resolutions and principles about life. You understand? God says, yeah, we're going to have to gut that. We're going to start from scratch. And I've had to just, yield myself to the Holy Spirit and say, fine, go for it. And he showed me, yeah, because to be the wife to that destiny husband, yeah, you couldn't be with him the way you are. He may need some work done on him too, right? But you would need to be a different woman. You need to be the woman you initially meant to be, even the mother for the kind of children you're supposed to be raising. If you still want to have those destiny children, yes, there's a certain way that mother is. So we're rewiring everything. So I'm thinking we got a lot of the rewiring is being done, and we're good on that line, on that score. And now I'm realizing, hold on, this is an ongoing work, because there's so many areas. If I'm really going to walk in the full manifestation of these things, the person I was or am transitioning to be, is she going to be a good custodian of these blessings? Will she know how to manage them? If God gives me, or when God gives me these things, will I cause them to be corrupted? Will I lose them? Will I mismanage them? Will they become, as the book of Ecclesiastes say, as a fly in the oil of the apothecary? Drop a fly in ointment, you ruin the whole thing, man. It was a perfect blend of oils that the apothecary, the pharmacist, put together. And now you put a fly in there. Ugh, what is that? That's like foolishness coming out of the mouth of a wise person. It's like a fly in the oil of the apothecary. You can look that up. Ecclesiastes has some delightful poetry in there. The person who's blessed coming in, blessed going out, blessed in the city, blessed in the field, what does that look like? How does that person interact with the colleagues, with the other, with the farm workers? If it's going out to battle, going out to war, and you're blessed going out to war and blessed coming back, maybe coming back with spoils, what kind of person am I? Am I a person who's gloating? What kind of person am I on the battlefield? There's a lot that now I realize, hold on, could it be that the manifestation of these things that I've always prayed for with faith believing has been held back because I have not allowed God to develop me to be the kind of person who can be trusted with these things? I think we talked one time, well, at least I talked to you guys, about assuming the position, right? Where I observed my mother anytime there was a cousin traveling and visiting, and they'll stop at our house and they have a baby, she'd always teach us things about, watch this is how you do this for a baby, and you make the bath water. This is how you test the temperature of the bath water. Don't test it with your hand, for example, because your hand has a high tolerance for heat, because you're always cooking and dealing with hot stuff. Test the temperature with your elbow. You dip your elbow into the bath water and all that kind of stuff. But as I saw my nephews and nieces begin to grow up, and they were young, and then a baby comes through, you could see everybody fussing over the baby, getting turns to the baby, but the child is being overlooked. And you could see the child looking like, I want to touch the baby too. And it takes a very observant, tender, kind-hearted adult to notice that and say, do you want to hold the baby too? Okay, sit on the ground. Yeah, you can make them wash their hands first. And you tell them sit on the ground. You don't want them balancing on a chair. Tell them sit on the ground with their legs crossed, right? Legs crossed. You're going to make them assume the position. And then you tell them to hold their arms like this and hold their arms out. And when they've assumed the position to receive the baby, you place the baby in their hands. Oh, of course, they're not even breathing. They're delighted. They're like, especially if the baby's moving around, they're like, oh my gosh. And they're looking at you with their eyes wide open. It's just absolutely fantastic to watch. And they're like, oh. And then every adult is like, oh, are you holding the baby? And I'm like, mm-hmm. And they just feel so big. It's one of those things to include a child in something which you may have otherwise overlooked. It just really touches them and affects them in such a positive way. But you let them assume the position first so that they can be trusted. They're not going to fall over. They're not going to lose their balance. They're on the ground. They're already sitting on the ground. And if they didn't trust that you're not going to give them the child, they wouldn't sit on the ground. Sometimes you might even have them sit on the ground, and then these guys have to suddenly leave in a hurry, and you have a very disappointed person sitting on the ground assuming the position but never gets to hold the child. Thank God for a God who doesn't leave us assuming the position and leave us high and dry. But if we are to assume the position and let God prepare us to be the recipient of all these blessings, but not only just a person who receives them and they pass through and the enemy steals them. How do I keep those things? Because I'm dealing with an enemy who steals, kills, and destroys. Not only just lives, but even blessings, anything good that I get from God. All good things come from God, right? How do I keep these blessings when I get these blessings? What's the character of the person who does this? What's my lifestyle to look like? And that's when you can see God can begin to start to change your habits, your sleeping habits. I start to sleep earlier, wake up much earlier. I've got more time for prayer in the morning. How is God preparing you? And are you resisting it? Is God bringing people for you to minister and pray over? And some of them may be not the best kind of company to keep. But how's God beginning to shape you? And can you and I not be so lenient to look at a situation and think, why is this happening, and dismiss it, but allow God to work through whichever way he wants to work through to prepare us for that which he has in store for us? It could be ministry. And I know it's so hard, and I'm preaching to myself right now, because others get trained in this way and they get given this opportunity and run this class and go to this ministry and assist in this capacity, and you have a vision, you have a calling, and you're not having similar doors being open for you. And you think, well, then maybe not, maybe it's never going to happen. But God wants to work in different areas, and maybe there's some character traits that he wants to develop in you, not because you're a bad person or you fall so far short, but you could be stronger in other areas later that he is going to guide other people to you for assistance, for training, for ministry, whatever the case is. So how is he working in you? Are you letting him work? If there's nothing happening, it's not because he doesn't want to. God's not going to fight you. He's not going to contend with you forever. So if you invite him, and as I'm inviting him daily, and say, look, what else do you need to do in my life? And I got multiple irons in the fire right now. You got multiple things you're working on through me. But what did I just say? That's not right. Anyway, but when I'm going to be blessed in the country, blessed in the field, when I'm going to be the lender and not the borrower, I want to do it right. I want to do it in a godly way, in a way that I can grow. Not just lend here, lend there, struggle with it or not struggle with it. But I want to grow and be proficient, spiritually proficient, in a kingdom way, in a godly kingdom way. So this is my current learning curve. This is what I'm going through. Okay? I'm not saying I've mastered it. I want to share this with you. And I know I have some friends that say they're also hungering for growth. They also want to grow in strides, leaps and bounds. And it's a lot of things being upset in your life. It's like It's like you're doing laundry and then you go and put something away and you open the drawer and you're like, oh, this drawer needs to be tidied up. So you pull everything out of that drawer and you toss it on the bed. And you're like, oh, well, I need to put a liner in this drawer actually. And you go to the kitchen where you keep the drawer liner sheets and you go pull them out and you're like, oh, you know what? I need to clean this door, let me get the cleaning stuff out. And then every room has an ongoing project. For us, this is just overwhelming at times and a source of frustration. For others, it keeps them going. They need that activity. For God, that's just a piece of cake. That's every day for him. He's got multiple things going on in our lives that sometimes we are not even aware of. And if we limit him to one area that we think, or that we're just praying for a breakthrough in this area, and we fight him in our other areas, then we're making our God small. We got a big God. He's huge. He's a big God. He's a big God. Oh, there's another thing I could tell you about. I don't even have the vocabulary to describe what I've seen of God. It's staggering. I've tried to run words through my mind, and I've said to myself, you sound crazy. Oh, there's dimensions of his being that is staggering. If you to just behold a glimpse of a vision of how brilliant and magnificent he is, and just in not just dazzling little radiant light, and not just one bright white light. No, just it's hard to conceive it, it's hard to describe it. But the God we have is so big. And he's got so much. We're made in his image. If he's that mind-blowing and staggeringly big, and he's made us in his image, I think we're shortchanging him a lot by not just letting him have carte blanche to just work in our lives in multiple areas without resistance. Whether we understand it or not, just let him be and talk with him. And sometimes he'll share those secrets with you on what he's working on. Alrighty. It's going to be a great day tomorrow. Still haven't decided how I'm going to spend it. I got stuff to do. And evening service starts in 2.5 hours. So I don't know about a nap time. But this has been the best. This has been a great time. The service was just fire. Pastor Matt's just, I don't know what's going on. Highly combustible these days. I love that. He's got the fire of God going through him. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Love you guys. And walk with me. I want to start doing a podcast soon because, I'm not all that crazy about just monographs, monologues. Nap time. But I'd love to get on a podcast sometime, have some time to share these insights with others, and just reflect on what God is revealing about himself and how he's working through us. And as we invite him and let him begin to shape us, we begin to see what godly, successful people look like. Is it just a successful person who just says, I thank God? Or does a godly person who's blessed and they're coming in and going out look like? There's a character that goes with that. And I pray that they see Christ more and more in me. And if whatever I'm doing, I can't show Christ, then they might see the other stuff that needs to be gutted. So then perhaps God should keep me hidden while he's still working on those areas. That's just my thoughts. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Sunscreen, and bug repellent all weekend. Stay hydrated here in Texas. Let's pray for each other. You know what? I really think frizz should be the state hairstyle for Texas, because hairspray and mousse is probably not good for your hair. Bye.